All right, Jess, thanks for jumping on and joining me today to chat through your progress and the amazing milestone that you've just hit. You've hit 10K in a 30-day window and in a month technically, and it's an awesome achievement that has had a lot of hard work gone into it. And I'm really looking forward to obviously diving into what you did and obviously what you can share about the strategies to help people out. But I mean, first and foremost, before we do, I'd love to just hear a bit about yourself and what you do and where you were before you and I connected.
So I'm Jess, as Will said, and I run a small business in Southern Tassie called the Equid Apothecary. So Equid being horses and apothecary being natural and herbal remedies. We make products here ourselves for horses, specializing in hoof care. Which started as a passion project. So I was working with horses and have a background in science and various qualifications in equine therapies. And a friend suggested that we start trying to sell these products that I was already making for use on my own horses and my clients' horses. And at first I kind of brushed it off because I already had a lot on my plate, it's very small children, a lot of animals of my own, already working and running one business. Um, yeah, but after about a month of kind of letting it stew, I was like, yep, all right, let's give it a go. And we did. So the Equid Apothecary was born, and she was a GP, so working quite a lot. I was also really busy. So for the first couple of years, things definitely moved very slowly, just honing the products, selling to a small market. We managed to secure a couple of wholesalers early on, which really helped a little bit with the cash flow just to kind of keep us ticking over. She had a baby last year, and so I took on the business,
Mm.
and I was kind of in a transition period with work, and I think now is probably the time that I really try and put a little extra into this and maybe learn what I'm doing because, coming from a background working with horses, I had no understanding of business or how to run a business or the finances or anything at all. Like I was very much going in blind.
Mm.
And I looked at a lot of different programs and none of them felt particularly personal. They felt very generic. And I'd seen Will's ads popping up for a while, and I think I'd been on his email list. And I always enjoyed his content. And I think as a person, he just seems genuinely excited about, sorry, just distracted by something outside.
Uh,
Always very genuinely excited
Yeah.
doing something out there. Genuinely excited about, the progress of the people in the program, which I think that just really resonated.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
jumped on a call with you and it
Yeah.
sounded really exciting. And we didn't really have the money, but it was one of those things that I was like, this is what we need to do. Well, this is what I need to do at the moment. And so I'll figure it out. I'll find the money, we'll make it work.
I,
And
I
I'm so
I I love that. It's yeah, it's hard like having a business partner initially or a partner or someone to support and guide. And I was lucky that I had Sam with Karmic to bounce off. But then you kind of lose it, I guess, a bit of that with, as you say, taking over that business. And okay, cool. It was sounds like a couple of lines in the sand along the lines just to say, yeah, I'm going to take this seriously, and then figuring some stuff out yourself, and then saying, okay, maybe I need some other support and help as well because
yeah,
it's
yeah,
totally typical to come from the creator. The entrepreneur is the creator, which you guys develop the product, and not to have the natural ability to sell, right? We're talking about selling and transacting and money and things before. But marketing obviously is let's call it expertise in and of itself. And so rarely do people have kind of both, at least in the beginning, where it's like, I'm really good at the product that I created and make, and it works. And I'm also really good at marketing. They very rarely kind of come hand in hand. And so,
yeah. I think to run, a small business, especially e-commerce business
mm,
by yourself, you just need to be so multi-skilled. And it doesn't mean that you need to be an expert in everything, which I think is partially what I found quite paralyzing. I felt like, well,
mm,
I'm one person. I can't be an expert in marketing and, the finances and making the product and doing the social media. but you don't need to be. You just need to know enough, and the
Mm.
strategies to put it in place.
Yeah.
And actually, in terms of the marketing, just be a bit raw, I think, and be yourself is like, I think it's a really, yeah, it's a good thing.
It's your advantage, honestly. Like especially in that early stage, and I'd say, certainly people doing less than $10,000 per month. And I can recall this with Karmic, where before even that time, Sam and I were like, we want to be perceived as a big business. We want to be perceived as this, perceived as that. And so we transitioned from our own personal type content and really kind of ghetto, content to, yeah, being perceived as this, which felt kind of fake and inauthentic. And it actually performed a lot worse. And so at some point in time, we came back to, signing off emails, Sam and Will, for example. That's really simple type stuff. And it just resonated a lot more with people. And that
Yeah.
actually, as we discovered, and as I sort of, I guess translate to you guys, is that is your edge, like a lot of the time. Of course, our businesses and our brands and products, we think they're unique and we think they're different. We just have to understand that to the untrained eye, they're not necessarily. Yours, I think, is definitely, but to the untrained eye with a lot of other products, they can be put in the same category as a lot of others. And so the point of difference, at least in the early stages, is you. Like people want to buy from people that they know,
And
like,
look,
and trust.
we definitely in our niche are not the only ones doing what we're
Mm,
doing. So we absolutely have competitors and competitors that are much bigger than us. But yeah, I think I really noticed a massive turning point with our social media and how that was performing, and therefore our ads, because we were using different content. When I switched from, yeah, everything trying to look really generic and really polished and like our stuff was coming out of a factory,
mm,
to putting up videos of chatting and, this is going to sell out this week because I can't keep up with demand. I'm just one person. And
yeah.
just, yeah, honest, raw, not like edited to a T. It was, yeah, I started to have a little more fun with it too and stopped worrying. And yeah, I feel like it just came together.
That's so cool. I mean, I think that's really great for people to hear as well, that they don't have to have so much pressure on perfection and pressure on content and things like that. And I think this is, a little bit off topic, but this is where I think goes a little bit too far in honestly just our
Yeah.
experience and testing and implementation is from a content perspective in this case, that polished, whether it looks believable or not, isn't actually performing as good as the raw type content that is just grab your iPhone and start talking sort of thing,
Yeah,
which is
absolutely. And I
which
think that,
is important to understand.
yeah, everything is like AI is flooding the marketing at the moment. And
Mm,
once you've used it a little bit, straight away you can look at, the copy for a post or a reel or, the posters. We all know about the
mm,
posters.
mm.
Um, or even the images people are using, and you can tell they're AI straight away. And for me, I lose a bit of trust in those businesses. And so that's something that I very much won't, you know, negotiate on. Like it has
Sure.
its place.
Yeah. Yeah.
We use AI for some things, but in terms of like the content and our wording and our copy,
Yeah.
I think it just needs to seem like human.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's a really cool point too. That because the AI sphere is, and again, not to go too off topic here, but the AI sphere is overwhelming, and people do get stressed about it. And they feel like they're falling behind or missing out when there's so many developments happening constantly that no one can A, possibly keep up, honestly. But then B is you do need to pick and choose where you use it. It's great for back end type stuff and automation type stuff and idea generation type stuff. But then we need to do the 20% of the touch up and make it obviously sound like us and sound human. So that's yeah, definitely something we're learning on the way for sure. And it's great to hear that that's what your market responds to. Like, I mean, I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
yeah, like I mean, I'm not sure if it was you or it was actually someone else who I literally remember one of their best performing ads was them just literally riding a horse on their farm, and they were talking about the
No, that wasn't
specific
us. But yeah, you have mentioned that
yeah.
one before. Yeah.
And it's
So
it's relatable, right? It's so good.
yeah.
And so with content cool, what I was just going to ask actually, what things have you found? So where were you actually revenue wise when you came in? I can't recall. What were
I
you at?
think I'm pretty sure I remember filling out the form, and I think our average monthly was 1.5K
Cool. Yeah,
a
amazing.
month.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. And obviously,
And our winters are always much busier. So at the moment we're in winter, which is a busy period.
mm,
Um,
mm,
so I mean, when we came in, it would have been summer,
yeah. Yeah.
but still,
Yeah.
that's like insane.
Yeah.
1.5. 10K average to, we've just cracked our first 10K, and
It's amazing.
watching it over like
It's,
the past week, it's kind of climbing.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna keep going. It's amazing. And so content, so what was it, what other things were you using that contributed to driving sales and
So
traffic and all that
right
sort of
at the
stuff?
time we started on the program, we switched from Squarespace to Shopify.
Yeah. Big change, big difference.
Huge change, but
Yeah.
I didn't know how to use it. So
Yeah.
I think the timing of that starting the program was amazing because I didn't
Mm.
even know that you could have email campaigns and flows. And I didn't even think about things like, your sign up form
Yeah.
being, I guess, efficient or not.
Yeah.
Um, so I literally just went through the program every step of the way. It was a lot of,
Mm.
with young kids
Mm.
and working 5 a.m. mornings. And I would just try and do half an hour or an hour in the mornings.
Yeah.
But I think the was first thing I did was start setting up email automations.
Mm.
So I probably spent a couple of weeks on that. Think from there, just trying to think like what order I did things in. I did it
Mm.
like in the order that, the trainings
Yeah,
are
yeah,
there.
yeah. Yeah, we
You
obviously
were
set up
able
the
to
strategy
prompt me,
for
can
you.
you
Yeah.
remember?
Because it definitely, yeah, all of, I mean,
Oh, no,
obviously
sorry.
doing
So I would have gone through
the
like,
site
yeah,
there.
improving
Yeah.
like conversion rate. So checking everything
Yeah.
on the website was working well and, changing a few things around and um, adding in some of the trust stuff. So we added in a free shipping over $200, which we hadn't had before.
Hmm.
And, that's still quite a decent threshold.
Mm.
And a money back guarantee and put some trust badges on the
Yeah.
website, make sure our, social proof and our reviews were
Mm.
really good. Yeah, then worked on the email campaigns. Yeah, what I can't remember what comes after that. Can you remember
Yeah.
in the training?
You're running ads, weren't you? Yeah. Oh, because you were running
Yeah,
ads and
yeah.
then,
So
yeah.
well, initially, yeah,
Mm.
initially we were struggling so much because we put everything into, our first
Yeah.
payment program. So
Yeah.
actually we couldn't start running ads for maybe the
Yes.
first 6 to 8 weeks after signing up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even when we first started, we were running $2 or $3 a day bottom of funnel
That's
Facebook
right.
ads.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I
That's
think
right.
it wasn't even until the 3 month mark, maybe the halfway mark in the program, that we started running top of funnel ads.
Yeah.
And even it was like $10 a day.
Yes, yeah. I think that's really cool for people to hear. Well,
Yeah.
firstly, the amazing sacrifice that you did make and calculating, like, let's just call it how it is, like calculating obviously investment into the program, which I say the investment is yourself and obviously the business and the skills and everything you learn. But that was the sacrifice of saying, well, okay, we don't have the money to spend on ads for the first couple of months. And that
Yeah.
is where, from a strategic perspective, and I probably said this to you at the time, it's like, look, if we can't spend money on ads right now, that's just how it is. That's a reality of our business situation. There's no prerequisite to say, okay, to get success, we have to spend $10,000 a month on ads. That's not right. That's not
Yeah.
the reality of running a
Yeah.
business. We have to manage our cash flow accordingly. And so that's a really cool step process for people to hear, to say, yeah, okay, we started just organically or using what we currently had, build up the cash kitty. Then, okay, we go to, month 3 and then we can start to step up and suddenly you're
Yeah.
8x, your revenue of
Yeah.
what you were. But I think that's really cool from just a reality perspective,
Yeah.
because there
Yeah.
are people in that boat for sure that they're like,
Yeah, and I
look, I
think that
can't.
was one of the things
Mm,
maybe that like got me over the line and to get into the program was on
sure.
the discovery call talking to you about that. I was like, if I put if I do this, this is like all the money that we
Mm,
have for the business at the
mm,
moment. I'm not going to have any money to invest. And you were like, that's fine. That's just it is what it is.
mm,
Whereas I feel like a lot of training programs, they expect that you have an excess 5 to 10K to
sure.
be putting.
Yeah.
We didn't have an excess like
Yeah.
50 cents for a
Yeah.
while there.
Yeah.
And definitely I think around kind of that mid mark, I was like, what am I? Because things
Mm,
like they picked up a little bit, but nothing like they have in the last couple of months. And I felt
mm,
like I was working so hard,
yeah.
but I wasn't seeing anything. So I guess there was a lot of apprehension.
Mm.
But for anyone who has that apprehension, I would be like, just stick with it. Try not to be too disheartened because, you're implementing all these things and you're broadening your audience. And at some point, it just clicks.
Yeah, that I think that's such a cool message because it is a compounding effect. Like some,
Yeah.
absolutely. Like I'll definitely say that there's some quick wins. Sometimes there's some early returns and things like that. But yeah, in your case, which is a great example for people, is that you're laying the foundations and you're trying to compound the efforts that you've got. And then what we're looking for, and this is in Atomic Habits that I get you guys all to read, is like that region where it's like our effort to
Mm.
results or output is disproportionate. So we're putting in more effort to what we're getting out, but then it does hit an inflection point where it actually flips and you're getting way
Yeah.
more leverage with what you've already done in those past months, let's call it. And now you're getting more output to the inputs that you're actually putting in proportion. And that's honestly why I love e-commerce, because it has that exponential impact. Like there's no there's very little in doing 10K a month to doing 100K a month. There's just some fundamentals in there. But in terms of like, apart from like packing orders and obviously producing a couple of things, but it's not like 10x more effort, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
that's what's really cool to, as I say, hear that and how quickly it can come after it feels like a long time, you know?
Yeah. And I think, especially in the beginning when there are so many things to implement, and
Mm,
I'm one of those people that just wants to like hook in and do it all. And I felt really overwhelmed because I couldn't. It actually taught me a lot, which I think will apply to other things in life, of just try and improve like 1% each day.
mm,
And that's definitely something that I think I have gotten from the program that just in business will be very useful. It's like, you don't have to do it all at once, just do what you can with
mm,
what you have at the time. And at
mhm.
some point, those little efforts, like at some point, that'll be 100% better than it was.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, 100, we talk about that, all the time about just, call it scrappy action a lot of the time, but it's just forward momentum nonetheless,
Mhm.
that applies to a lot as you mentioned. And I mean, just on that, like what component of the program have you, found the most beneficial? We've obviously got the course material and the templates, and we've obviously got the mentoring and the calls and stuff like that. What, is there anything particular that you found the most beneficial? Was it going at your own pace through the program itself, or like, yeah,
I
what was
think
it
so.
specifically? Mm,
Yeah, I think so. Because I think, just in terms of lifestyle and the way my brain works, I'm kind of have, periods of being very um, motivated and get a lot done, being really productive, and then periods where, other parts of my life kind of take over and I can't do much. So I think kind of being able to be consistent in a way that suits what else is going on in my life has been amazing, and you guys are there to support when we need it. And there's no animosity. Well, you haven't been on, any calls for the last 2 weeks. And, I always felt worried about that, but, was always just met with so much kindness and encouragement.
sure. Yeah. It's
Yeah, that's
it's
been
it's
amazing.
that's life. I think that's, I mean, thank you for sharing that, because that's again just important for people to hear. I mean, I always position it like this. We're all adults. We're responsible for ourselves, and this is where I've really admired you. And you're right. We go through seasons of personal and other stuff going on, and that's just respected. And so we must be self-starters. You obviously are. People don't get results without being that. But yeah, when you come back to the fold and you got questions and need support, like we're open arms. Like they're the people I love to work with and see the progress and see obviously win. And yeah, you've been amazing. As I say, like it's a lot about, I'm continuing to learn this, like a lot about success in e-commerce, especially, is just about attitude and taking responsibility for ourselves. And we make it happen, as you said before, 1% each day. And
Yeah.
also, again, like we touched on probably offline a little bit earlier, was just being kind to ourselves, right? There's a line between pushing really, really hard and being hard on ourselves, and then being letting the efforts kind of compound and breathe, and not hang our hat so much on the result, because we know that will inevitably come, right? Trusting that process. And I think you balance that exceptionally well in amongst, as I say, everything else that goes on in life, which is inevitable too, So it's been
Yeah, absolutely.
amazing. It's been
Yeah, and I think,
amazing.
being able to check in with you and be like, Will, I feel like I'm flailing. I don't know what to do next. Things aren't really coming together. And you were always just very reassuring, you're doing great. Stick with it.
Mm,
Like,
yeah,
I think just having that confidence and that backing was amazing,
that's
rather
awesome.
than, someone who was like, I guess reactive, if you had
Yeah.
a mentor that you were contacting and they'd be like, okay, well, let's like, flip something on its head and do something really different. You were always just like, nope, do what you're doing. You-
Yeah. Yeah.
Trust the process. You're
For
doing
sure.
great. And that that was amazing. Yeah, that was
For
great.
sure. That's awesome. Awesome to hear. I mean, and as I say, like you've got the right attitude. You've always had the right attitude, and that's really really helpful to getting to where you are, which is amazing. I mean, the last thing I'd probably like to ask is, being where you were at the, before you joined, before we even met. I mean, and being where you are now, like, and having that wisdom and the experience too. It's been a journey, obviously, and you've learned a lot in the time about yourself and the business and everything like that. But what would you sort of say to people who are where you were, feeling lost, lacking confidence, probably being probably overwhelmed, AI this, YouTube, university this, like, what would you sort of say to people in that position, where you
Um,
were?
I would say to get some help because we can't know what we don't know. And I think there's a few components, to being in the community. So I would recommend absolutely getting help with this community because it's been amazing. I think, yeah, having a community so that everyone obviously that's in the same boat, doing what you're doing, you can bounce off them, but also having the structure, so having the resources there to be like, okay, at the moment I'm stressed about whether the business is profitable. So you can go into that section of the training. Or at the moment, I feel really lost with social media. Like I haven't had any new followers for 6 months. We go to that section of the training, which we were in that position, and we
Mm,
did what the training kind of recommended, and we had 100 new followers in a week. You
mm,
know, um, I think get a community behind you that is in the same position, so other people in the same position, not necessarily all experts, and then yeah,
yeah.
find a proven system that has doesn't just focus on one thing, that's definitely been a big thing for me. It's not like this training is about social media for businesses, or this training is just about like finances for businesses or tracking your progress.
Mm,
Like Ecom Blueprint has had, yeah, a bit of everything, and
yeah.
like I was saying before, you don't need to be an expert in all of these things. You just need to know enough to know what you need to know, really.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's perfect advice, is to just, yeah, again, taking the full responsibility piece, like there's get some help for sure. People have gone through what you're trying to go through, and you can make a hell of a lot less mistakes than they did, me being that person. And then secondly, of course, having access to what you specifically need at that time. And I've totally advocated, or the way I actually created the program, which is obviously all just created by me, is I want everyone. I create it with the assumption that everyone knows nothing about everything, and the
Yeah.
aim is to get you to 80% of what an expert can get you to, very very simply and quickly. And so you're exactly right, just knowing enough, like more than average, across
Yeah.
every aspect of your business, and then that's control, right? Confidence is control, and then we can make informed decisions and make really steady progress from there. Because on a smaller scale, business doesn't get less complex, it gets more complex. And so if we're on a small scale and we're making things really complex, then it's only going to be amplified as we continue to
Yeah,
go,
absolutely.
if we
Yeah.
actually are able to make it grow with the complexity. So yeah, I
And I
really
think we
think that's
grow,
sound advice.
we grow and learn with our business. So that can happen alongside the business. I think, yeah, that's worth mentioning as well, that none of the trainings felt daunting or overwhelming, which, for me, if I started one that just felt like quite
Mm.
complex or daunting or overwhelming or big concepts, I'd probably just be like, I'll do that later and then never, never do it.
For
No
sure.
dopamine.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah. So,
you're so right.
trainings that are, terminology that we all understand and that are really actionable and not overwhelming. Yeah,
Mm.
amazing.
Yeah, amazing. Look, I really appreciate it. And look, thank you so much for sharing all that. I know it's going to be valuable for a few people. And again, just congrats on your achievement. It's just the beginning. I know that that's the most exciting thing. I've ever since we met, I know where you're going, and I've really felt confident with your business and you as a person, as an operator. It's so much about the operator, and as I said several times, the attitude that person has, and you've been amazing. So congrats. Thanks for sharing all
Thank
that, and yeah, looking
you.
forward to the next milestones.
It's been one of the best decisions I ever made. So yeah, incredibly grateful. And you
Thanks.
definitely, you know, always felt like you and the program were backing me when I didn't really feel like I could back myself.
Love that. I love that. That. I mean, that's cool. I love to, yeah, I guess share or inspire you to have the belief in yourself, because I've got it. I've got it in yourself. So, great to hear. Thanks, Jess.
Thank you, Will.